That's it. Welcome to the Shoulder FootyCast, live from, well, Melbourne and Perth. That's right. I'm in Melbourne. Skeeter's in Perth. He is as happy as I've ever seen him. Skeeter, welcome to the Shoulder FootyCast. It's good to see you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, thank you, Langtrees. Good to be with you.
Langtrees, what's up, mate?
Well, basically, last night on 3AW, Jimmy Bartell, 6PR last night. You've gone with Nova, with Shawnee McManus a few minutes ago. You're over there in Melbourne under the guise of work, which I'm assuming is true, although I'm not sure whether you're there to see Paddy tonight at the G or Piastri at Albert Park. But Langtrees is because you're not just selling your body to the highest bidder, you're selling your body to anyone who'll speak to you, numpty.
Skeeter, mate.
And we're like a Jetstar flight. This is like a Jetstar. Oh, in fact, no, this is better than a Jetstar flight. We're only 20 minutes delayed because you had to finish off all your other crap that you do before I'm sitting here like under interrogation, the bright lights, feel like I've been accused of a crime I haven't committed, and I'm waiting for you to finish. But you're ready to go.
Do you have somewhere to be?
Well, I've got life to live. You know, I've got things to do. I actually do have other issues that I have to attend to in my private and business life.
Well, Skeeter, we're going to see how we go here, mate. I'm in the Melbourne studios over here in Collingwood, actually, Skeet, ironically.
Can you get an interior decorator to get some work done on the studios? Because it looks rather bland behind you. Maybe some memorabilia. Looks like you're like O.J. Simpson being questioned back in the 90s in a police cell.
We should do this more often. You've actually brought some humour today.
Well, you give me so much opportunity.
Okay. Can I start talking about footy or what?
You go to your life.
Okay. Mark, there is a couple of things I need to get to before we get into the show. Very, very happy to announce, and I don't know if you're putting your wig on and coming along to this. I assume you are. Haven't told you about it yet, but the Derby preview before the Derby, Thursday night, you'll be on air on 6PR from 5 till 7, and at 7:01, you'll be walking into the Leederville Hotel with me, Will Schofield, to host the Derby preview show live at the Leederville Hotel, March 27th, I believe. It's a Thursday. We've got big guests lined up, Liam Duggan, Sean Darcy, a couple of absolute superstars. We'll be doing a mini BackChat episode into the guests to preview the Derby, and then we'll be doing a mini Shoulder FootyCast episode, Skeeter, to preview the Derby. What do you reckon about that?
Yeah, it sounds good in practice, but you do realise that I call footy on Thursday nights for 6PR. That is my main employer during the week, so that might cause an issue for you. But no, you can promote the heck out of it and maybe get Travis. Is Travis Head over there in Melbourne with you?
Is Travis Head? Who are you talking about, Travis Head?
Well, Dan Const is the Travis Head of the organisation. Is he part of the BackChat sort of travelling show?
They've actually just walked out of the room, which is probably why the internet just dropped out. So God knows what's going to happen if this fails, because we're just going to burn the place to the ground, basically. Dan Const will be there at the live Derby show. You can grab your tickets. They're at backchatstudios.com.au. They're selling pretty fast. So we'll get a great crowd in there. Skeet, look, whether you're there or not, you have been to these shows. You had fun the last time you came. I know you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And the greatest humour I got was walking out of the function. I think it was a Bulldogs Sydney game. Really big crowd. I'm surprised there was something. I was genuinely shocked at how many people were there and how many people loved you and loved the podcast. And then I was walking back to my car, and I could still hear Hammer screaming like a banshee as I was walking up Vincent Street. He was getting the crowd into just an absolute lather of humour, and it was debauchery. Anyway, it was fun.
Okay. Well, if that sounds fun to you, then sign up, get your tickets at backchatstudios.com.au. Big Derby show coming up. And Skeeter, I'm going to try and get you there somehow. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Maybe we can dial in like this. All right, Skeeter, should we start talking some footy? I reckon some footy. Will Schofield, Mark Reading, Shoulder FootyCast. Now, there's a bit going on in AFL land, but excitingly, we're pre-round one, Skeeter. We're finally here. It's the Thursday of round one. We've got footy tonight, footy Friday, all weekend, 9 rounds. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am. I mean, tonight's game, obviously, it's going to have a huge crowd. They're talking 80, 90,000, whatever it is. It's going to be massive. I think people in Victoria, rightfully so, they've been sitting, waiting, watching, and now they get their chance. 9 games, it's perfect. There's a lot of footy issues, as we know, even WA ones, which we'll touch on. But, yeah, the footy's back. we love it. We get to go to Optus Stadium on Sunday. We get to watch the Dockers tomorrow in Melbourne. You're there. It's 37 on Saturday, I believe. So it's going to be, there's a lot of stories and narratives for the first weekend.
Yeah, there sure is. A bit going on around the league at the moment. Couple of coaches signing on, Brad Scott, Ross Lyon, both extending for a year, both senior coaches at clubs that you'd have to say have been struggling of late. Do you like the fact they've signed on? Where do you sit with this one?
I know you're on the train thinking that's probably not a bad thing to do. The question I ask now, Essendon have been on a reasonable trajectory, albeit they haven't played finals for a million years, but they won, I think, 11 games last year. I thought there were some positive signs. Brad Scott, there's talk that the James Hird agitators are sort of waiting in the wings to maybe launch a coup if things go pear-shaped. But look, the club's trying to do the right thing, put all the distractions to bed. Conversely, whether it's Ross Lyon or Brad Scott, where are they going to go? I mean, who would pick up those coaches, given they're I guess, recycled coaches? Look, in terms of contracts nowadays, as you pointed out rightfully, they can get sacked at a whim anyway. There's payouts, etc. I think this is more about just putting to bed the media and getting the club on the same page. Whether it works or not, both teams are about the same pace in terms of where they are sitting. St Kilda probably more so in no man's land than Essendon, but yeah, it seems a little unusual. But those close to the clubs will understand or think that those two men have got the characteristics to work this system out so they can get to their clubs into a finals and beyond.
I like it because every good club I've ever been a part of has coaching stability. And when I say club, I mean team, right? Like the coaches that are able to stick around and build something within the footy club, that's how you win premierships. You don't win premierships by coaches going in and out and sacking blokes and recycling lists and all of that. You win it by having stability. So this provides stability to both Essendon and St Kilda. Does that mean they win a flag? No. But I just like it for the fact that we probably won't talk about Ross Lyon and Brad Scott's contracts for another year. And I think it's a smart move, whether or not they deserved them or not. Like you just said, they can get sacked regardless. So I like it, Skeeter. I think it's a good thing. While we're sort of talking contracts, I guess, why do you think there's so much chat about West Australian teams, players and trades? So we've got Chad Warner, we've got Oscar Allen, we've got Harley Reid, and now we've got Luke Jackson bobbing his head up. There seems to be more than over east. Like I'm over here now, that's all everyone's talking about is these West Australian clubs and West Australian players. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's just a coincidence, to be honest with you. Cosy Pickett can probably fall into that as a sort of a West Australian link there as well. Look, the Luke Jackson story, we know that it sort of emanated from a few weeks ago with Mitch Cleary, and he's obviously on the money with a lot of stuff he does. And subsequently, Cal Toomey, people can say my spy's telling me, but let's be honest, Cal Toomey has come out with a story suggesting that there's been some discussions or certainly some texts exchanged between Jackson and some of his former teammates. The Chad Warner thing, that was always going to be an issue. That's been waiting to explode in the last 12 months, and now there's reportedly an offer of 1.3, 1.4 on the table for him. That's there. Oscar Allen, obviously another talking point where it's been revealed in the media at least, whether there's complete fact attached to that he's had discussions with Brisbane. I think it's just coincidence because of Warner coming out of contract. Jackson's the one that's probably caught us all off guard. The Oscar Allen issue has been lingering as well. It's the Jackson one that intrigues me more than any of them.
If I had to rank, we'll put 5 of those players. We'll put Cozzy Pickett in as well, right? So we got Pickett, Reid, Allen, Warner, and Jackson. If I had to rank them from most likely to be on the move to least likely, I think least likely is Luke Jackson. I think of those guys, most likely is Cozzy Pickett, followed by Chad Warner, followed by Harley Reid, followed by Oscar Allen, followed by, who was the last one I said? Luke Jackson. What do you reckon about that order?
Yeah, I think Jackson is, just by virtue of the length of contract he has and the reasons he came back here, and I know it's in part, I'm thinking, because of his partner and what she does on the East Coast. I was led to believe that she's spending a lot more time here in WA. So too, by the way, have I read and heard that Harley Reid's partner spent a fair bit of time here this summer, and speculation, again, that that it's Yasmin. That's right. Yasmin's a chance to cut Dersma to come and potentially play some AFLW footy here. I'm not sure whether that will keep Harley in WA. I think you've got the rankings probably about spot on.
I don't know if you saw Rory Sloane speak about this on Channel 9. I think he's a great addition to coverage of AFL in general. Speaks a lot of sense, being captain of his side.
Recently in the game, that helps.
Yeah. But what he said about interstate players, and he said specifically about Harley Reid, and he spoke about himself and others that have played interstate from where they were originally born. Getting the club and others, getting people to come to you. And I experienced this. Like, one of the great times in my footy career was having all my mates from Victoria over, having my family over, giving them an opportunity to come over and see what the environment's like, see who my new mates are. If you don't get to do that and it's not encouraged and, it's not sort of invigilated by the footy club or others, it can sometimes feel like, oh, what are they doing over there? Come home, we don't see you. So, the advice to West Coast is to get more and more friends and family around Harley Reid. Different case, of course, with Oscar Allen, but guys like that. I just thought it was great insight by Rory Sloane, and I agree with it. I probably think a majority of those guys are going to be on the move, to be honest. If I had to say more or less, I'd say more of those guys will be on the move than not. Skeet, a bit of a change of tact. The AFL and the AFLPA are clashing over confidentiality of illicit drug test positives. Now, been lots of words on this. I was lucky enough to speak to Paul Marsh yesterday over here in Melbourne. I am working, Skeet. I know you might be surprised by it, but I've been doing interviews over here. Paul Marsh and the AFLPA basically, and this is cutting through the mud a bit, don't want to reveal players' names because of the scrutiny that it will bring. A lot of other people are saying, release the names. You're either an elite athlete, and this is a Nathan Buckley quote, you're either an elite athlete and you're on an AFL list, or you do illicit drugs. You can't do both. What do you say?
Yeah, Bucks is pretty black and white there, pardon the pun, with what he just said, isn't it? And I think most people in the community would side with that. I think a lot of people would, given the nature of the job, given the money they're paid, invariably more so than most in the community. But I think, having spoken, as you have and I have, I didn't speak about it on radio with Paul Marsh, but there's certainly another side to it with regards to the players' welfare and education, given that I guess most of those transgressing in that sort of 18 to, say, 24 bracket, in that young man age bracket where you're going to make mistakes, as we all see in society. So I didn't hear the interview with Paul Marsh on with the discussion you've had with him, but I can imagine the welfare of the players is paramount to his. But what I will say is that the AFL, with regards to testing, is, I think, ahead of, say, the NRL with what happens in that space. And in terms of world standards, probably in an area that is acceptable to in sport. Maybe not so much in the community, but I think it's acceptable in sport where it needs to land. Put it this way: we've had issues going back in time where we know after one strike, and even going past one strike, multiple strikes, if that's the case, if it's true, that club presidents like Eddie has always said that he would have liked to have known if one of his players was in trouble. Jeff Kennett's been the same. Where do we land with ensuring the right people at footy clubs are also, apart from the doctor, are also aware of where a player is at with his issue, if there's one?
I think it's important to understand that people who are requesting for stricter illicit drug policy, they are asking to hold AFL players at a higher standard than the rest of society. Now, there are some industries that'll do illicit drug testing, but the vast majority don't. And people listening to this will be in jobs that they go and do their job and they don't get tested, and they certainly won't have their name on the front or back page of the paper if they did. So I do think it is relevant that we are asking AFL players to live to a higher standard than the rest of the community. Now, that may be a good thing and that may be acceptable, but I think that's getting lost a little bit. There's a lot of kicking and screaming and carrying on in the public around this, but AFL players are putting themselves to an illicit drug policy. They're not avoiding it. They are avoiding releasing the names, but if you speak to, I guess, the people in favour of it, that is in the protection of these players. So where do I lay on it, Skeet? You might be asking. I think it is more of an enabling policy than a protective one, to be honest. And off the back of that, it probably just comes back to, well, what do you want? Yeah, do you want to hold AFL players at a higher standard? If you do, then you probably need to release the names.
And I think at the end of the day, that would be a massive call. I don't think the Players Association would ever agree to that setup without having their hand absolutely forced. So I do understand that side of it. Are they held to a higher account? If of course they are, but they're also generally have advantages that those in the community don't. So they're not the same as the run-of-the-mill employee. I get that. By the same token, I guess if you're a pilot, if you work in the mines, there's a lot of industries where you are subject to breath tests, whether it be alcohol or illicit drugs. If we had the answer to this, Schoey, this would have been solved years ago, but we're still discussing it 15, 20 years ago. We still had these questions being asked. I'm not sure if anything's going to change in the short term. I suspect not.
I think the middle ground will be found. I don't think the name's going to be released publicly, but I think the clubs will know sooner.
Yeah.
And I think the clubs want that access both to help and probably just to help. I mean, they are in place to help players. I think that's where we'll land. I think we'll be increasing the availability of who these players are to football clubs. And off the back of that, we'll probably get more leaks, but we already have leaks anyway. Hey, Skeet, just to finish off before we get into previewing each game, Toby Greene, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for him. He, off the back of it, $11,500 fine on the weekend for kneeing an opponent and making careless contact with an umpire, has now been fined a total of $44,000, the most in VFL, AFL history. Well done, Toby. Very good.
Yeah, well done, Toby. That's up there. That's dollars that you just can't get back in the holiday fund. Look, I thought that Zach Butters might have been starting to venture into that sort of territory as well. But Toby, he refuses to get up that mantle. He's determined to go. I reckon he's looking at 50K by the end of the year. What's the overs or unders for that?
Yeah, 50K would be nice. I mean, like we said the other day with the $10,000 fine to John Newcomb, 50 grand's still 50 grand, Skeeter. Doesn't matter if you're on $1 million a year or not. 50 grand's a lot of money. So all the best to Toby with that. I don't know.
I'm not sure if he's got a wife or a partner. But imagine you miss go home. So listen, I've just been docked another 10 grand for Victoria would not be happy with me. Like, that's a good.
Toby Green's getting married.
Oh, there you go.
Got to save for a wedding.
The fiance, I think, would be saying, look, there we go. There goes 2 bridesmaids out the door. Come on, let's just get things together here, Toby.
Very good. All right, Skate. Let's preview some games. We'll whip through these. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the new little setup here. We'll try our best to get through while we're dealing with some tech stuff, but it sounds pretty good to me. Skeeter, Geelong v Fremantle, Cardinia Park, Saturday. Look, you know what I'm like with time zones, but I believe it's a 10:20 Western Australian time game and a 1:20 Eastern States game.
Yes, and this has to be taken into account. Actually, I had a caller on radio bring this up. The 3-hour time difference. Obviously, they'll fly out today, and they'll get the 24 hours. But even playing, you could probably speak better to this, playing at 10:20 Perth time. I think a lot of the clubs, including Fremantle, tend to stay on WA time for the 2 WA clubs, stay on their own time, which presents its little challenges. Not saying it's insurmountable, but it's not ideal, is it?
No, it's not ideal. I used to hate it because the law of rule of thumb, is usually 5 hours pre-game you're meant to get up. So you're sort of waking up at what's that, like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Melbourne time if you follow that rule, which is
4 o'clock.
5 o'clock, 4 o'clock Perth time, and you've only been there for 2 days. So regardless of whether you go to Perth time or Melbourne time, you need to still follow your body clock. So, yeah, some guys, I used to hate it. Some guys didn't mind, but I was a big sleeper, Skeeter. So if we look at the game, though, it's an important game for Freo. They need to start the season well. They've got a lot of injury questions. Shea Bolton probably leading the way there. Alex Pearce, Josh Draper's doing a fitness test. Michael Walters, Nat Fyfe appear to have been ruled out. Sean Darcy, Hayden Young are definitely out. Where on the other hand, Geelong's pretty healthy. So I think if it's two healthy teams, Freo would have, probably be more almost going favourites. But at the moment, Geelong are favourites to win this game.
Yeah, and probably rightfully so, even though Fremantle's record at Geelong is sound, as good as any interstate side I would have thought going around. You're right, though. I was at training yesterday. Michael Walters didn't do anything to suggest he's playing in terms of taking part in the strenuous main training session. Shea Bolton did start, but I still have a massive question mark. I think probably less than 50% for him being named and travelling. If there's still that spot or anything that might be something to be concerned about longer term. So I think Shea misses. I think Walters obviously misses. Fyfe won't play. Will he run around for Peel in a practice match this weekend against Perth? I think probably not. I would suspect he'd be just given some more volume at training over the next couple of weeks. I think Pearce will play. That's what I saw yesterday. I think suggests he'll be okay. So of those players, yeah, there's probably most missing. Down to the fact that Young and Darcy not playing as well. Yeah, there's some concerns for Justin Longmuir. And off the back of what Caleb Sarong suggesting, that's been a pretty brutal pre-season. Now, whether that's any different to any other club, I can't tell you. But they know they've been worked hard and they had some injury. So, yeah, it's a tough spot for them. Tough game to win over there first up, given Geelong's health. And I think just breaking down what happens during the game, they've got a couple of areas. What do you do with Tom Stewart? Depending where he plays. He's in many ways the barometer of Geelong, how they set up, isn't it?
Yeah, he is. Before we get into that, what were you doing at training? You never go to training. What were you out there for?
It's called
what made to watch training?
Due diligence, it's called.
No. What were you actually out there? Because I just know you weren't out there just to watch training.
But I used to go to training all the time. So it was actually nice to get out of the office and go down and I was meeting up with Adam Reid, actually, to be honest with you, the new WA coach. So just having a chat with him and I thought I'd pop my head in. It was great just to stand there and watch training and just get an insight. You're right. Both of us should probably get to training more often.
Yeah, correct. But don't lie to me and say you were out training to watch training. I know you weren't. It's very good. Adam Reid, my former coach at Peel, he's doing well. He's a new state coach, isn't he? So,
although when
exciting.
When I texted you yesterday, I said, Adam Reid, and you said, who's he?
Skeeter.
That's a fact.
That shit house fly you. Well, because you just bloody pulled out Adam Reid, like with no context. We're talking to Adam Reid. So, sorry, mate, what are you fucking talking about? That's what I thought.
You thought he was a motocross rider.
Phil Reid, the bloody big wave surfer and former West Coast. Now, Skeeter, so good. We're established that you're not going out to train to watch training because I just bloody know you were. Yeah, you used to. Yeah, when you bloody worked hard. Now, I don't go out either. And if I'm ever there, it's not because
he's getting an extra earn.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I do think it's a good point about Tom Stewart. I think we'll see him play a similar role where he starts in the midfield, goes back behind the footy and, acts as that real quarterback for them. The good thing about round one, mate, is we don't know what these teams are going to do. The preseason stuff. Sorry, did you lose me for a bit?
No, but You're right. The preseason is, and we've seen, just forget about what we saw in the preseason. The Giants have proven that. Collingwood have shown that with what they dished up. It is almost folly to use Geelong's loss to Essendon or even Fremantle's winning against Melbourne as a guide. There is no template for what's going to happen this weekend.
Couple of big battles, De Koning and Blitzarves in the ruck v. Reedy and Jackson. That's going to be nice because it's kind of two similar matchups in a way. None of them are real. I mean, Reedy is, but we haven't seen him at AFL level very often. None of them are, your standout number one rucks. So that's going to be an interesting battle through the middle of the ground and how they use those. Especially Blitzarves v. Jackson, I think is going to be very interesting to watch. Bailey Smith in his first real game for Geelong. Will he have an impact? I still think there's a lot of question marks around him coming off an ACL. We can't just expect him to rip a game apart. And then probably at either end of the ground is that, who gets Jeremy Cameron, who takes him on. We've seen different players match up on him. We've seen Brennan Cox do that. We've seen Luke Ryan do that. We've seen Alex Pearce do that. But he'll be a big ace in the hand for Geelong. And then at the other end, the matchups on Josh Tracy and Jai Amos. So I think it's going to be a ripping game. Who have you got? Who are you picking?
Yeah, just quickly, look, for the first time in how many years, no Tom Hawkins. I mean, I know he's missed a lot of footy at the back end of his career, but it's a new look forward line that the Cats have to get used to. Spoke to Luke Ryan during the week. There's a fair chance he'll get Jeremy Cameron. He's always been the main man in many ways, but he now shoulders a bit more responsibility given the young nature of their forward line. I'm not 100% convinced that Liam Reedy will play. There's talk over here that Pat Voss might come into the side as the extra tall, do some of the ruck work inside forward 50, and Jackson goes in the ruck by himself. That's just some of the there's a bit of talk that Reedy was showing up against Gawn, which is probably 15, 16 other ruckmen are showing up by Maxie Gawn. But yeah, I wouldn't put Reedy down as a certainty to play. But yeah, on that basis, I'm tipping for the Cats purely because of those outs that we've seen. And I reckon you're right. If the teams were fully fit, both sides, even in Geelong, I think it'd be a 50-50 game, but I'm leaning towards the Cats on that basis, and I think they'll probably be able to find a way, as they normally do at home.
Yeah, so Skeeter, I'm new year, new me. I'm going with favourites this year, and I'm going to pick one upset a week. That's how I'm tipping this year. Okay? Is that okay with you?
Well, given that anyone who beats you this year gets $10 at the end of the season, you go with your plan and just let it roll, brother.
I'm picking Geelong, and honestly, I'd almost always pick Fremantle. Like I think Freo's going to win. I think they're going to go down there and beat Geelong, but they're not favourites, and they're not my upset of the week. So I'm picking Geelong.
Okay, no, so fair enough. I was on radio with you the other night, last night, in fact, and you tipped the Dockers, I'm sure, but maybe I'm.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Don't lie. Don't make that up.
Okay, I was sure you picked Fremantle when we spoke about this before, but you obviously you've said about you learnt from your ways of the past, so you're tipping the favourites except for one upset. Gotcha. So we're both picking the Cats.
Yes, correct. We agree. West Coast, Gold Coast, Optus Stadium, Sunday, 3:10 p.m. at Western, 12:10. Oh, fucking hell, 6:10 p.m. 6:10.
Who gives a rat's about 6:10?
Well, because we've got people listening from over. Do you understand? There's other.
Do you think they care? Do you think when they mention what time the game's at the MCG tonight, they go, "Yeah, it starts at 4:40 Western Standard Time"? They wouldn't know what time. I'm telling you, most of them don't even know what time it is in Perth in summer. They can't take the 3 hours off without getting confused.
So I can't say.
Well, you just times. Well, you didn't. You clearly couldn't. You couldn't even work that out.
Someone get me a calculator or an abacus or something here. West Coast, Gold Coast, Optus Stadium. Tell me how this game's going to go, Scout.
I have no idea like that other game because except to say that the Gold Coast...
Are you down at West Coast training? Did you get down and see training at West Coast?
Well, if I get out of this podcast, I might just go down and have a look, just the captain's run. But a bit like Geelong, who was due to play last week, it's a clean slate for both, I guess, WA clubs against their opposition because the Gold Coast Suns... No match against the Bombers. Their training ability over the last week, look, I'm not sure whether they've been able to get a decent volume in because of the conditions up there. So, yeah, big question marks. I guess in many ways for the Suns, and their travelling form we know is poor, but to not have Mac Andrew in the side is massive. Sam Flanders, important. But remember, last time these sides met at Optus, Mac Andrew started in attack and was really quite effective against the Eagles. So, yeah, his loss is significant. I think in many ways for the Suns, they will rely on the likes of Anderson, who I think is a terrific choice as new captain. Matt Rao will be instrumental, and there's a lot of talk that he is now most likely to stay at the Suns. So they will still rely on if Took Miller obviously can play his role. I think they've probably got the advantage inside the centre square, in my humble opinion. Can the Eagles, and we saw it, you saw them in Bunbury against North Melbourne. We've seen them against the Tigers, which really probably not even worth even discussing that. But from what we've seen, the Eagles will be improved. They'll play a better style of footy, a quicker style. Will it be enough to win? The jury's out for me as to whether they're right to go against a club that you think should be, and you rightfully say that, should be playing finals this year.
Well, they have to be. And if they don't, then they're just completely, stuck with what they're doing. So these are the games they have to win too, away from home against a side that's underneath them on the ladder, or certainly expected to be. They need to win these games. They need to win these games, Gold Coast, if they're any chance of playing finals. But serious as a football club, you need to be able to travel. to play finals from an out-of-Victorian club, you need to win away from home. And Gold Coast have been too inconsistent in this area. To start the year, I actually think it's a great challenge for them, and we'll know very quickly where they're at. We'll know very quickly if they're any good. Whether or not they're going to be able to stand up to it, I don't know. Bo Allen is not playing. We thought we might see him as a debutant, but he's lost bloody 10 kilos over the weekend with some sort of illness. I'm not sure what sort of illness. Did you see that?
I did. I was
a dog.
Well, this is a serious subject, but if there's any chance that I could get hold of that diet, I might just go, yup.
Why don't you head down to training and give him a good handshake and then
10K? I heard 6Ks, but either way, that's a significant. And Andrew McCullough said, given he's a young man, there's no point trying to test him under those circumstances. Just leave him for another week or two if that's the case.
No, it'll be disappointing for him, though, because he's had a great pre-season. I think we'll see Ryan Marrick come in for Bo Allen. He was impressive in the games that I saw him play. A bit more of a distributor, probably, than Bo Allen. Bo Allen's probably more defensive than Ryan Marrick, but we'll see how that goes. You mentioned the Suns outs. We have club debutants for West Coast in Lam Baker, Jack Graham, and probably Matt Owies. This is Andrew McQualter's first game in charge. Do we get the first coach uptick? We didn't see it from Sydney last week with Dean Cox at the helm. Andrew McQualter is a bit different, I think. I mean, this is a properly new coach that no one's known before this year. I think we will get an uptick here, Skeeter. I think we will see an improved West Coast Eagles. But I do think the Gold Coast Suns are much improved. They have to win games like this away from home. With a new looked half back line with Rioli and Noble, I think the Gold Coast Suns beat West Coast, and they beat them pretty well, Skeet. I'll give them above a 6-goal win.
You're kidding me. You think they'll beat the Eagles by more than 6 goals?
Sorry, what?
No, I think it's a bold statement.
I have West Coast as a bottom 2 side, and I have Gold Coast making finals. 6 goals is
I think so.
Weird.
Yeah, okay. I think 6 goals is very generous to the Gold Coast Suns. I think they'll win as well, but I don't think it's going to be huge. I think the Eagles will be very competitive. I think they'll be. Look, I think
how many goals they win by?
Who, the Gold Coast? I said they'll win.
How many goals? You're winning. How many goals?
Win by 15 points for 2 goals. I just don't think they're going to. 6 goals is quite a significant victory for a team that is yet to show anywhere that they can play away from home and dominate teams yet. That might be the case this year. If that's the case, then we'll replay this on Monday and you get a massive tick. But I will stand my ground that I think they should be able to win the game. But this is, again, a game that's winnable for West Coast. I don't think they're out of this by any means. You think, given your margin there, that it's one-way traffic. I think they can be very competitive, but I'm sticking with the Suns. I think their midfield quality is just ahead of the Eagles.
Well, it's just what I think, Skeeter. It's probably wrong, but I just may as well say it. We both picked Gold Coast very good. Richmond v Carlton, MCG tonight. I'll be there, Skeeter.
Yeah.
Working. I don't know if that's working or not. If the ATO's listening, it certainly is. I think this is going to be a complete bloodbath, to be honest. Probably in the first quarter, I reckon it might be quite even, but once push comes to shove with some of these senior players for Carlton, I don't think Richmond can keep up with them. And yeah, I'm more going for the experience of just going to the MCG and having a meat pint of beer in the stand, Skeeter.
Yeah, it's some are saying it's like an open training session for Carlton fans to get along and just watch their team in action. I'm hoping, and I think you're hoping as well, that Richmond take it up to Carlton. And look, they've got 3 debutants coming in, including Sam Lawler. Good to see him recover from that fractured jaw, I think it was. He will obviously be given time to find his feet. Tom Lynch, concussion during the pre-season, he'll come into the side. Just gives them a little bit of structure moving forward. But there's so many young players in that forward line. It's hard to see them not getting taken to the cleaners. It'll be interesting to see how De Koning goes as a high sort of profile to target for say St Kilda and others moving forward. Paddy Cripps again will do the job. Sam Welsh, they're going to be, and Wiedering in defence. They've got all the bones with Harry Mackay, even missing Charlie. If they don't buy 6 or 7 goals, Carlton supporters in the media might actually give the Blues a bit of a clip.
Yeah, but like you said about the Gold Coast prediction, like a 6-goal win's a good win, isn't it? So you're still going to do it. I just think it'll be a little bit of a grind early. The pressure will be on, and you can't just put 10 goals on a side in the first quarter. But Lucas Caparelli will debut, son of Scott, which is exciting. I think I was a big sort of a fan through the 90s of what Carlton used to put out. Like watching them play, so that's good to see. Luke Traynor, Harry Armstrong, another couple of debutants for Richmond. Nick Haynes and Francis Evans also make their club debuts. Of course, Nick Haynes, former Giant. Francis Evans, former Port, former Geelong. Or am I making that up? You don't know.
No. Just I think I like Nick Haynes. I think he could actually work well into that side.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's probably on the older side, but that's someone that Carlton needs, some senior players. So
given Nick Newman's out for the year, he's certainly going to be handy.
Carlton, we both pick Carlton.
Hawthorn
Essendon, one of the best games of the weekend. Friday night footy, 7:40 at the G. Going to be close to 90,000 people here, I think, at this one, and there's genuine hope in Essendon fans. Probably like most years, to be honest, coming into the season. But they come up against the red-hot Hawks. They get opening round done. Looked very impressive against Sydney. I guess the question for me would be, they're still a young team, the Hawks, and they have had troubles with consistency. Did they get themselves up to start so impressively that a slight come down is on the way? And can the Bombers upset the Hawks at the G?
Yeah, I think this will be a really good game. In fact, I think this on a Friday night will get numbers probably as high as any we've seen on a Friday night at the G in recent years. Because of the Hawks and they're such an attractive team to watch, and the Bombers have got a very big following, I think this will be a really good game. I was so impressed by the Hawks. Essendon, we don't know what they'll come up with, but invariably they start the season pretty well. Isaac Kako, the young player, kicked 4 goals against the Cats. He's going to be exciting. Hopefully we see Sam Draper back to some of the form that we know. Hopefully he can produce. The midfield led by their captain, Merritt and co. I don't write off Essendon in this match. I think the quality of the defence of the Hawks will be very hard to get past. And I think the style of footy they play, if they can replicate what they did in against Sydney, that's going to be too much for Essendon over 4 quarters. Well, I think it'll be a really close game.
We had Nick Martin in studio yesterday, Skeeter, and I think they're quietly confident they can really challenge the Hawks. I think he's a really impressive guy. He's in their leadership group this year. Spoke really well. I think he's come a long way, and his story is amazing. Getting picked up in as an SSP add-on effectively after being overlooked for about 4 or 5 years in the draft, and what he's been able to do. As a footballer, I'm excited to see him go about his business. Does James Sicily start forward or back? I think every game, unless extraordinary, he'll start back and move forward as desired. I think they'd like to keep that setup going, especially when Mitch Lewis and co come back into the side with Kel Shadir a little way away as well. I think Hawthorn win this one, but in a very good game, Skeet. I kind of wish I was here Friday night footy watching the game, but who are you picking?
Yeah, you can't be everywhere, Schoey, on the weekend, so you'd have to come home at some stage. So I would suggest Massimo D'Ambrosio. I've just found out that he's in contract talks. So here's a bloke who couldn't really cement a place at Essendon, is now, and quite clearly, the move has just worked wonders. Isn't it amazing? A change of environment, maybe a different coach, the way he's used on the ground. So well done to him if he can find a fresh contract with a couple of extra dollars attached to it. Tipping Hawthorn, I think this is close to, well, it's one of the games of the round, I think.
Do you do it deliberately, or is this, like, I'm just wondering from a craft point of view, like when you say Kako and Massimo D'Ambrosio, like you start putting a bit of twang to it?
Yeah.
Deliberate or?
Because I don't really know how to say their name, I try to put a European twist on it. In part.
European Skeeter. I'll tell you what, you deserve a bloody European summer. I forgot to say off the top, Skeet, happy bloody birthday for this week, mate. Really happy birthday. I've really forgot about that. But, mate, how old are you?
I'm 50 plus GST. So, yeah, it's just about all over. Just about to wheel me out. And I'm sure, just waiting for the SMSs for Joe Biden and all the other Pupperama stuff that comes my way. But you'll be there one day, Schoey. I hope you do get there because it's a lot of fun as you trawl towards your 60th year.
Did you do a birthday party?
No, I worked on radio and then I went out for a quiet dinner in Mount Lily with my family last night. That's it, mate. It's no, mate, I'm low key, under the radar. No festival.
Do you want a birthday night?
I was going to have a 50th in 2020, but there was an issue there.
How about this? How about we do it Thursday night before the Derby? That's right. We'll invite Liam Duggan, Sean Darcy down to the Leadable Hotel, and you can come along to that. How about that, Skate? I'll throw you some beers in.
I'll tell you, Darcy would be a bit of fun. If he's on the gas, he'd be a bit of fun to be with.
Maybe we can get him on the gas. Make sure you get tickets to that, backchatstudios.com.au for our massive Derby preview. We both pick Hawthorn, Sydney v Brisbane, SCG, Saturday. It's 1 o'clock Western, Skeeter. This is an interesting game because of what we saw from Sydney last week. I think if this was round one and we hadn't seen either side, we'd be thinking that, I don't know, Sydney get this done at the SCG, but I think big question marks. And then you're going to throw in what Brisbane's been through from a training point of view over the last 9 days. It makes it for a fascinating clash Saturday.
Yeah, and Brisbane went to Sydney yesterday, so they had a elongated time there to give themselves, better training facilities, I'm expecting. And yeah, you're right. It's very hard not to look back at Friday night and think, well, the Swans are gone. And from a playing perspective, for Brisbane, Brandon Starcevic having suffered concussion, he's available now, which is really important. But conversely, we should give a shout out to Link McCarthy, who's done his ACL again, his right knee. Blokes missed last year with a knee, this year with the knee. So that's really unfortunate for him. So thoughts with him. Sydney, what can they change? What can they do differently this week? I guess the concerns for me, we know that Chad Warner led from the front. They've still got the midfield, even without Errol Goulden, to be highly competitive. I am concerned about their forward line. I'm concerned about whether, with no Logan McDonald, what sort of score they can kick. But by the same token, I did see signs from Sydney last week that, I'm putting Hawthorn's performance in the A category last week. So whether Brisbane comes with that same approach and is able to replicate that, there's a question mark. So I'm giving Sydney another chance in this one to, not often you get 2 games at home to start the season. So the Swans in a place where they just have to find a way. Otherwise, poor old Coxie's going to be. He was a bit downcast after last Friday's press conference. Imagine what it would be on Saturday if they get rolled again.
Well, what can Sydney do? They can release the lizard. I think they've got to start Tom McCartan back, and I know that will, open up their forward line. But you should be able to play someone there that presents and creates a target for you inside 50. Because what happened last week was the lizard was ended up on the best forward, Mario Chol at times, others down there, and he was more defensive than I think they would like him. I mean, the most dangerous they looked in the game when the lizard was streaming off the back flank. So I think they're going to release him. I think they're going to tweak a few things. Tom McCartan back is what I would do to help that, and find someone else that can give you a presence in the forward line. I don't know who that is, but you've got to find someone. I'm picking Brisbane, Skater. I do think Sydney are going to bounce back and probably going to win, but Brisbane are favourites, so I can't go against it. So you and I are different on that one. Western Bulldogs versus the Boners. That's right, North Melbourne. Under the lid. It's a night game under the lid. Some debutants in this one. Finn O'Sullivan, who I was very, very impressed with. I got him winning the Rising Star this year. Sam Davidson for the Bulldogs making his debut. And excitingly or not excitingly for West Coast fans, you'll see Jack Darling in blue and white. That's right. For the first time, Jack Darling, alongside Caleb Daniel and Luke Parker, will debut for their new club. What do you think of North Melbourne's chances against the Dogs?
Yeah, I don't think they're without a chance at all. I know, I've got a feeling you'll be heading in this direction. This is one of those games that is a real first up for the Dogs, given their injuries, given the names missing. Good news, by the way, Jamari Ugle-Hagan has come back to training, I believe, either today or yesterday. So even though he's a long way off from playing.
He's a long way off.
Yeah,
long way off.
No, but from that sense, he's back in the group. So hopefully that leads to positivity. Dogs have got a great record. They've won the last 7 against the Roos by an average of 58 points per game. They're going to really rely on some new faces, aren't they, in terms of without the Bont there to try and get the job done here. Yeah, North Melbourne, you talk about Gold Coast having to improve. I don't expect North to play finals, but if they don't go from winning a couple of games this year to 7 or 8, that for me is a failure. They've got the draft picks, they've got the young players, they've got the quality there and the experience now with the likes of Darling and Parker, etc. And for what it's worth, apparently Nick Larkey not sighted at training today.
Oh, boy.
So that doesn't mean that he's not playing, but that's a bit of a concern if you're a Kangaroo supporter because he's the glue of that forward line.
I will say, though, it's Thursday, so their captain's run will be tomorrow. Today's probably their day off. That's probably they haven't seen him. No players are there. They haven't seen Nick Larkey or the rest of the side. It's their day off. Where are you pulling that info from?
Well, okay, Buckalugs. You keep going. You give me your thoughts on this game, and as you know, I'll just find where I saw it, and then I only go. I'm not in Melbourne. Why did you go to North Melbourne training and have a look?
I don't even know where North Melbourne is, to be honest. Well,
I've never heard of Arden Street. Never been to Arden Street.
Mate, I was down at Victoria Park yesterday doing a cross. I assumed Collingwood would be there training, but apparently they train near the G. So Victoria Park was there. Skeeter, I'm joking. Just calm down. Western Bulldogs, North Melbourne. I'm picking the bonus for a boil over, Skeeter. I like the North Melbourne Footy Club in what they did over here in the West. No, they didn't beat West Coast, but I was very impressed with how they looked. They need to execute better in front of goal. Nick Larkey needs to play. If Nick Larkey doesn't play, they don't win. I will say that as a caveat. But assume he'll be playing. No Bontempelli, no Treloar. Issues galore off field at the moment for the Bulldogs. Bailey Dale has got a fitness test, and Richards has a fitness test. I mean, those two are very important players. North Melbourne win this, Skeeter. Under the lid, North Melbourne get it done, and it's a big, big upset. Western Bulldogs are paying something like $1.30. So that is my upset of the week, Skeet. I pick North.
Yeah, fair enough. Just to clarify what I just said, and you just shot me down, a big watch on North Melbourne spearhead Nick Larkey ahead of the clash. Not on the track for the Kangaroos' main training session this morning. Appeared in some discomfort with a lower leg injury at training on Tuesday. That comes from, he's a bit of a dodgy source, at Mitch Cleary, who's given us that. So you're casting shade on the great man. It's on you. I'm tipping the Bulldogs, but I think if you're looking at major upsets this weekend, you may well just have the key to the door.
Okay. News breaking.
I'm just
the world, Mark Reddings.
Just giving you some information. He decided to say they're not training. What would you know?
And no, I think we've found the issue at North Melbourne. Why are they doing main training 2 days out from a Saturday game? I think that's actually an issue. I've never done that before in my life.
Well, that's a.
Can you find that out?
Yeah,
I'll source for that.
No, I'll look into it. I'm tipping the Dogs to win. They're backs against the wall. Bevo has to find a way, and I think they'll still have enough class. But it'll be fascinating. I'd love to see how Jack goes as well.
I think Jack's going to play well. He was very impressive over here in the West. Collingwood v Port Adelaide at the MCG. This is a night game over here, 4:35 Western. Collingwood, Port Adelaide, the two prison bars going at it. Couple of outs for this one. Jordan De Goey will not play. That's important. Will Hoskin-Elliott, a senior player, will not play. Dan Houston will return from his big suspension. I thought he was out longer, but he is back to make his Magpie debut. He is sorely needed in that side. Jack Lukosius will make his Port debut. You'd think he's going to be their main avenue to goal early, given that Finlayson has been playing in the back line. Zach Butters, we know he's out. Rosie the one who hurt his toe with Horn Francis get tackling in a game last week? Was that Rosie or not? No.
I'm not sure if that's. He hasn't come up in my.
Check with Mitch.
Well, I'll give you another story out of this game in a second. But yeah, I'm unaware of whether he's in doubt. But obviously, he's part of that midfield mix. We saw Horn Francis in that All-Stars game firsthand. Tell you what, I think he's just got so much upside. So yeah, there's a bit there for Port, but also question marks, as we know, with their forward line. No Charlie Dixon, no Todd Marshall. They are the club that I think there's a lot of people wondering whether they can maintain their high standards given the succession plan that's in place there. So I tell you what, you've been in Melbourne. I'd imagine there's been a heap of speculation on Collingwood about their demographic, their this lack of speed, the Nick Dacos factor. He trained really well yesterday. So yeah, there's a fair bit of heat on the Magpies after one loss. And just to go back to what I was talking about, Tom Morris, by the way, has tweeted this not long ago, but nothing to prevent the aforementioned player from playing on the weekend. But Collingwood star Braden Maynard was involved in a car accident this morning in Brighton. His car was crashed into a ute. Thankfully, the two tradies in the ute and Maynard are okay, but both vehicles are a bit banged up. So that's not the first time Braden's been in a bit of a spot of bother in a car accident from my recollection. But anyway, he tends to find a bit of trouble on and off the field, does poor old Braden.
I can't recall. I haven't been keeping a log on Braden's vehicle movements, but I don't know about that one. But yes, okay, well, it's good to hear that he's okay. How about this quote from Toby Greene last night on AFL 360? In the last 15 minutes, there was a clear athletic advantage. You could sort of feel it as a player, and it was pretty evident from watching, from what I hear, which you don't usually get too often in AFL footy. Love how honest Toby Greene is.
Yeah, it is. But I tell you, I know these days are well and truly gone, but if I'm Craig McRae, I'm showing the players.
Yeah,
I'm putting it to them that there's...
Unless it's true.
Yeah.
Unless it's true.
How could you... this is a serious question. How can you not be... I know it was a bit hot up in Sydney, and it's going to be hot this weekend. How can you not have the physical conditioning in round one so far that Toby Greene has said that the disparity was so much between the two sides?
Don't know. I don't know, which is why I think as a coach you'd be like, well, this could motivate, but if we rock up this weekend against Port and get run over, then you start thinking about that quote and going, well, he's absolutely dead true, and then you've completely lost trust for the whole year. So that's why there's a few question marks here at Collingwood. I'm picking the Magpies, Skeeter, at home. If this was in Adelaide, I'd pick Port Adelaide, but the Magpies to bounce back for me. Who are you picking? Yeah,
and if Port Adelaide were favourites, you'd be picking Port Adelaide. So sort of you give away your tips pretty early in the piece, but I'm giving Collingwood another chance as well, only because of clubs like Collingwood, very proud. I think will respond. They have to. I mean, their forward line the numbers weren't tragic for them for the main part against the Giants. Their forward line was so clunky. They need to get that sorted out. If they don't, they'll find themselves in trouble again. Picking the Pies and expecting Nick to, bottom line is, if you think Toby Bedford ran with him pretty closely, I think Willem Drew's going to be right up his clacker as well on Saturday.
Why do you have a problem with me like changing my tips to a more succinct way? Like, are you a man of mystery with who you select?
No, but you've declared you're going to just tip favourites apart from one upset. So, and you've already given us the upset, so we know who you're picking for the rest of the round.
So are you happy about that?
That's good. No, it's good.
Proud of yourself.
I prefer it when you I prefer when you have a thought bubble and you just run with it. I like the spontaneous Schoey as opposed to the statistical Schoey.
You know what I like? I love sucking you into picking people that you don't want to pick, but being wrong, and then giving you a text message when it happens. Adelaide, St Kilda, Skeeter, Adelaide Oval. I don't know if many people are looking forward to this game. Got to be honest. Sunday, 9:35 a.m. West Australia time. 9:30. Are you kidding me, Skeet?
Yeah.
You'll be in bed still.
No, I've done some exercise and be up and running, but that's early. That's like watching an NFL game.
Yeah, correct. I'm looking forward to it. Look, Adelaide are just a complete unknown for us this year. I think they could finish anywhere from, I don't have them in at 8, but like they could finish anywhere from, I don't know, 5th, maybe if everything goes well, even higher, to 16th. Like I literally can't place them. I don't know if they're good or bad. So I am looking forward to seeing this, just to see how they're playing, see what they've worked on, see what the midfield mix is with Rankin and Rochelle and Saligo and Dawson. Like, to me, that sounds like a good midfielder. I hope it sort of turns out that way. St Kilda, there's more question marks than Adelaide. I don't think their upside's as high as Adelaide is this year. They got again, a long injury list, which they've had since basically Ross Lyon got to the footy club. Max King is out. Mitch Owens is out. Phillipou is out. Liam Henry's out. Dan Butler's out. Paddy Dow. Dougal Howard. I mean, this was the same last year. Exactly the same thing happened. I'll be picking Adelaide, Skeeter. You're right. They're favourites, but they're favourites for a reason. I just think their upside's better. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. And look, I think they've got enough in their squad to be challenging for a spot in the 8, and they have to, because if they don't, Matthew Nicks is going to be in desperate trouble. The numbers for the Saints last year, I know it doesn't count for what's happening this season, but they ranked last for match scoring last year and averaged 152 points kicked in their matches. So Ross Lyon, he's gone back to, he's trying to release the shackles. They did that a few times late in last season against Geelong notably, but his DNA as a coach is to strangle opposition sides And that's got its limitations when you don't have the cattle to back it up. And at the moment, he simply doesn't. Last year, for instance, they ranked last in terms of winning the first possession from centre bouncers. So they're not getting their hands on the footy first. This is last year, if they can change that around. But I just don't think they've got the personnel at the moment. I think Adelaide, Jordan Dawson, very good. I know you're a huge fan of Wanganeen Miller at half-back for the Saints. Crows will come for him hard at some stage to get him back to. I think there's a big play and offer for him. Crows to win. You say there's not much interest. I can tell you now in South Australia, the media will just jump all over the Crows if they get rolled. I think Adelaide wins.
Yeah, so do I. Tell you what, St Kilda probably just early days just gut the list. They may have to gut it. If Wanganeen Malira goes, they may just need to cull everyone in there and just start again. Maybe. I don't know. Melbourne v GWS, MCG. Last game of the weekend, of course, right before the West Coast Gold Coast game. Kieran Briggs is out, so Giants don't really have a ruckman. They'll be going with Keefe and Grzuski. They'll sort of battle. They'll toil away against Gawn. I think they should just run around with him and don't let him get free possessions and take what they can get in the ruck. Tom Green will face a fitness test. He ain't playing. I don't think. Hogan and Stringer remain at least a week away, so they'll have to sort of put together a bit of a makeshift forward line again, with still some players missing from the dress-ups over the off-season. Cozzy Pickett will still be out from that bump against Darcy Moore, so he's out for the first 3 rounds, so we won't see him. But the question will be, the Gawn Petrarca Oliver Viney show that we saw over here in the West that couldn't, get the win against Fremantle. Will they step up to the plate against this Giants midfield that ran all over the Collingwood Magpies at home?
Yeah, I mean, Callahan, outstanding. Kelly, very good. Yeah, they've had Toby Bedford running through the middle, and again, whether he gets a role this week, I'm not sure. Whether he gets a run with role, but yeah, the midfield of Melbourne looks really good. We know their defence with May and Levers outstanding. I just have concerns about their goal kicking power. Now, whether that means Petrarca spends more time in attack to give them that variation. Cozzy Pickett, of course, missing, which is significant. Because of suspension. So, I just, on exposed form, the Giants, the MCG, I don't think holds too many fears for them. They beat Melbourne last year there. I think they can go around again. And I was really impressed with their gut running. And I think if they can not look in the rearview mirror and be content with what they did against Collingwood and back it up this weekend, they can still lose inside the centre square but still win the game.
Yep. So, taking Giants?
Yes.
Okay, so am I, because they're favourites. So there you go, Skater. That is us. The preview's done for the weekend. When you get straight into the questions and comments before I lose power in my earbuds, if they're the things in my ears, by the way, Skate, just to let you know. I know you're not able to text sometimes. Straight into it. If you do want to get in touch with us, make sure you send us an email at footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. You can put a comment in our Instagram post shot of FootyCast. Or you can just contact us via the YouTube comments. Now, to finish off, this is from our comments. And g'day, fellas. Nice to see you. Dan and Rob over here in the Melbourne office just walked in, kicking their way through the door. This is from James on YouTube. Skeeter needs to do something about his hair. Perhaps a comb over would help. It seems pointless putting hair dye on what's... boys, can you kill your Wi-Fi, please? You just completely killed the stream. Can you hear me, Skater?
Yeah,
Seriously, both, I'm not joking. Both clear. Can you get me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Did you hear that?
Do you want me to just respond to a sledge or not?
Okay, you can if you want.
What am I going to say? So yeah, that's fine. I'll go with whatever sort of advice I get from. Just who's the bloke who did that? Who's the bloke who sent the message?
James,
just send in a photo, and we'll see if we can replicate. Just give me some fashion advice and how to look. So just let me know, and I'm more than happy to jump on board.
I think James should send in a photo because you're killing it.
I said James sends a photo.
All right, we have to wrap through this because I think the connection is absolutely dying. The Lockie Schultz trade is looking pretty good for Fremantle at the moment from Justin.
Well, that's correct. Well, that's correct. At the moment, I mean that could change.
Yes. And this one to finish us off on Dacos at the season preview with Steve Gravina on this channel. He talked about the plantar fascia injury and how if it is snapped, then the whole structure of feet and legs is changed. Perhaps this is a logical explanation for a player who was considered to be one of the best trainers and runners in the game to cramp like there was a sniper taking shots from the grandstand. And if you missed a bunch of training, that would be a big effect too. It's probably a good point from Dino on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. You've got me on that one because medically I can't give you anything except to say that I would expect that Nick Dacus would run the game out pretty well on Saturday night.
Skeeter, we're done. You've got lots of errands to run, probably pick up some milk and just go and have a lie down on the couch for the rest of the day.
Given I've been here since 8 o'clock Western Standard Time, which is 11 o'clock your time, yeah, it's now 9:30 almost, so I do need to go and do
what
other
do you
stuff.
do? Just give me a top 3 things you do.
I've got to go home and do some things. I've got a rehearsal at 12:30 at Optus.
What are the things? What are you doing at home?
Well, my wife might want me to do some things. I mean, I'm at home, so you've got to be very careful when you're about to go to lunch or whatever is coming across your path. So I will do a couple of errands at home. Then I'll go and do some work at Optus. Then I'll go to do some radio for a couple of hours. In fact, I'm calling the game tonight, so I'm doing that for 5 hours. So I'll get home at 10 o'clock tonight. So stick that up your jumper when you're sitting there having a 4 and 20.
Oh, I might get over at the same time, Skeeter. I'm going to go to the footy, mate. It's been good. I think it's been pretty flawless. I might stay in Melbourne.
Yeah,
good.
Do that. It'd be great. Well, why not just keep the Langtrees theme going?
Hey, goodbye, everybody. Come to the Derby show. Go buy your tickets. Go home, Skeeter. Victoria's calling.